And Dave,
but
please
it's
get
not
on the
extremely
site as well.
Yeah,
Because
please
that's
Because there are.
Yeah.
Get an
It's
e-bike,
very
is that
subjective,
right?
but also it feels that we like rigor.
You've got a new one, haven't you? Ben said? Yeah. What, an actuality?
Yeah.
Say something like
I will
Jack,
what's the financial certainties?
5 second warning.
It's nice, I like that. 4, 3.
Good evening, Alex.
What's Fan Island? What's,
One.
We are streaming.
She's
Quiet,
got two,
please.
hasn't she? She's welcome.
Okay. Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Town and Community Committee on the 18th of November. Start with item 1, which is apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillors Hoskins, Candia and Miller. Councillor Gavashak is substituting for Councillor Miller. Are there any others? I think so. Okay, so we'll move on. Item 2, declarations of interest. Anything on the agenda tonight? Okay, I see none, so we'll go on to item 3, which is public participation. So we have a member of the public here. If you'd like to just give your name and the street where you live, ready when you are. Are you here to speak?
Sorry. Paul is going to speak at the fire station item.
Right, okay, so you don't want to say anything now?
No.
Okay, in that case, we'll move on to item 4, which is the minutes. To approve the minutes of the Town and Community Committee meeting held on the 21st of October. Yep, okay. Any other comments? Second?
Yes.
All in favour? Thank you very much, that's passed. Item 5 is the Town Centre Manager update. Sadly, Town Centre Manager couldn't be here for what would have been his final meeting.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. There are some good things. Henley still has a very low vacancy rate. The sponsorship for the Christmas fair is up to 20k, which is brilliant. The ATM Gardner Place is still progressing, so that's also very good. Anybody else have anything to say? Councillor Dodds.
Well, I have been banging on about the bus shelter at the end of Station Road, and I got a message, and I'm not sure who it was from, but I think it might have been Paul, with a photo of the new advertising frame, and it looks lovely. So thank you very much.
Does this now mean that anybody can apply to advertise there? And which shelters are ready?
There are 5.
Yeah.
We're going to put something up for Christmas now and work out pricing
Okay.
and stuff for probably January.
Fantastic.
Councillor Eggleton.
It's nice that to actually see something that I mentioned quite a few times that is actually taking place now. Thank you.
Cool. Councillor Hinton.
I'd like to see a little bit more about the Christmas festival, ideally. It's literally around the corner. I was reminded by my kids, actually, because I'd completely forgotten, because I hadn't really seen much about it. So I'd just like to, I think it just seems to be a little bit understated this year, which is maybe the look we're going for. I don't know. It's not there to say. So I'm a little bit disappointed about that as well. Just thought I'd make it known.
We do have Tom and Jerry opening the lights.
I thought, oh, Jerry Hall, yeah. Yeah, Jerry Hall's opening lights, I think.
Oh, right.
With Tom. Yeah.
With Tom.
Yeah,
Of course.
Tom and Jerry.
What we're doing.
Of course.
Oh, that's welcome.
I was going to have that as a spontaneous joke I
We can't be building that.
came.
Henry said that, but Henry said this week, so it's too late.
Okay, any other comments on the Town Centre Manager report? I see none, thank you very much. So we'll move on to the Communications Manager report. It's on page 9. Jerry Hall mentioned here, which is quite good. Okay, strong growth on social media and the open rate for the newsletter again, which is really good.
Just past 2,000 on Instagram today.
Brilliant. That's good. We must be getting more and more interesting. Councillor Dodds.
Just the item on the second page, 25 years tree planting. It would be good to mention it with Gillett's Field, and it's a celebration. Andrew Hawkins 25 years ago, wanted to plant 2,000 trees to commemorate the millennium. And it would be nice to have a little bit more detail in there really about what that's about. And many of us are gathering there to celebrate that event and look at these lovely trees that are 25 years old. And
Are we putting one in the ground?
yes, yeah. So it just would have been nice to have had a little bit fuller description there really.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have any comments on that? All right, but thank you very much, Daisy. Anybody have any questions for Daisy? She's coming especially. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 7, which is the Henley Fire Station. So most of you will have read the very detailed and fatally flawed report in the agenda. I think, Stefan, you have further things to add because your response to it was brilliant, I may say.
Please, if I may.
Go.
Paul, if you come, who I will introduce in a moment. Right, well, as you can imagine, the potential closure of the Henley Fire Station has caused quite a bit of a kerfuffle. Can I introduce, this is Paul Robinson, who is a volunteer firefighter. He has to be careful what he says, because even though he's a volunteer and a Henley resident, so I'm saying this on your behalf, there may be some questions he's not allowed to answer because he is technically an employee of the fire service. He can speak openly, although I will be setting up a case, and then Paul will chip in, and then we'll take any questions. I'd like, through you, Chair, to actually, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the possible closure of the Henley Fire Station. I do have a motion that I would like you to sign up to and debate and discuss. So if I can actually just talk and then ask any, and then if we ask any questions, then move into the motion bit of the thing. Right. Well, as you know, there was this huge report from the fire station. And the important thing to say, yes, Henley, Ancient and Woodstock are under existential threat of closure. And what we do have to do is actually fight for the retention of the Henley Fire Station. The argument they are making is that because the Henley Fire Station is not crewed 100% of the time, then the fire station cannot be deployed onto the streets of Henley, and therefore it would be a cost saving to actually remove it. The important thing to say is that the data they are basing this consultation is, in my opinion, and also sources within the fire service, is flawed. In the consultation, it says that Henley only attends 67 incidents. They subsequently amended it to 78, but this doesn't tell the whole picture. In 2024, Henley fulfilled 114. So what I'm actually saying as a fundamental is that the data in this consultation is wrong. The other thing to move on to is that Henley, as an area, is the busiest in the south of Oxfordshire. The Henley area goes from Nuffield, to the top of Power Hill, to Purley on the other side, right the way down to Medmenham, all the way to Caversham, and includes Sonning Common. So imagine that huge lump. That huge lump is the busiest area. In 2024, the Henley area had 180 incidents. Wallingford had 153, Wattlington 97, Goring 89. So 34% of the activity was in the Henley area. Be that fires or road traffic accidents, etc. The area is then. Then we come on to response times, which is the next biggest, and this is probably the most worrying bit. At the moment, if there is a fire or a road traffic incident in Henley or near it, okay, the volunteers and the full-time officers at the Henley Fire Station, right? The volunteers are called, they get to the fire station within 5 minutes. The appliance is then deployed very quickly within 3 minutes. And they actually get to the incident in 2 minutes in Henley on Blues and Twos. So the total time to attend an incident is 10 minutes. If the Henley Fire Station goes and it's replaced by one in Wallingford or Caversham are called to deploy them, the figures are like this. And it's very important to understand the figures. If there's a new station at Cromarsh Gifford, the volunteers getting to the station to deploy the wagon will take 9 minutes because it's across the town. The deployment of the fire engine is 3 minutes. The journey to Henley is 19 minutes. So therefore there is a total time of 31 minutes to attend to the fire or the traffic accident. If we are relying on Caversham is full-time, so there's no volunteers being called in. The firefighters are already sat there. So immediately the wagon is deployed, 2 minutes, but the journey time to Henley is 20 minutes, so a total of 20 minutes. So we would have a diminution, if that's a word, a reduction in the service for Henley from 10 minutes to 31 if it comes from Wallingford, 22 if it comes from Caversham. Now in real time, just to talk about real time, on the 8th to the 9th of November, 2 days, there were 3 incidents in the Henley area and Caversham appliances attended. And to get from Caversham into Henley took 13 minutes, 19 minutes, 22 minutes. In other words, longer than the 10-minute deployment from Henley. It is said that the Henley fire appliance is only available for 9% of the time in this document. And that's clearly wrong because the figures coming out of the Henley Fire Station are that they are available between 30 and 57% of the time. So there's a real discrepancy in this document. It is cited that Henley can't get enough volunteers when the Oxfordshire Fire Service, and I'll say this very slowly, when the Oxfordshire Fire Service ban Henley from doing recruitment drives. So therefore, any possible volunteers in the Henley area aren't even aware that we're actually short of volunteers. The solution to this, because I always try and look for solutions, is that the Henley Fire Station carries on. It becomes full-time manned during the day, from the hours of 9 till 6, but it's for the fire service to work out. And then the volunteers can actually cover overnight in that particular model. The other important thing, and then I will stop, is that if Henley doesn't have, I mean, my view is that Oxfordshire should look after its own. I mean, why should we be relying on Caversham to provide our first line of defence? If 2 wagons come from Caversham for a serious incident, then it means there are 2 less wagons in Caversham to fight Caversham's fires or Reading's fires. So it's really important that we get the message over to the through the consultation we get the message over to Oxfordshire County Council and the Oxfordshire Fire Service that, in fact, a station is needed in Henley. There's one other aspect which I'll say, and then I'll potentially stop, is that an awful lot of education goes on out of the Henley Fire Station. You know, they go to schools, they go to old people's homes, they talk to businesses about making their premises safe. Now, if we don't have a Henley Fire Station, nobody from Caversham is going to come and do that education bit. No one from Crowmarsh Gifford is either. So we will actually have a diminution in the education service of the education of the Henley residents from the Henley Fire Service. Rest assured, I have submitted this paper to Rob McDougall, who is the Chief Fire Officer. I've also tabled for Oxfordshire County Council 11 questions, and mainly it's about the deployment times, and it's also about the flaws in this document. How you can have a consultation going out to people of Oxfordshire and not include the deployment times for the stations that are going to close is actually, I think, completely wrong. So I'll pause there for a moment.
Can I just say one thing? You didn't mention it just now, but it was in your response document, which I read yesterday and today.
Yep.
That the figures quoted for Henley exclude all the call-outs that went to Buckinghamshire and Berkshire, even though those are in the Henley area.
Correct.
Which is why the Henley stats look so much lower than they actually are.
Yes.
That's correct.
That is
that is correct.
That is precisely the point.
Yeah.
If you look at the geographical map that they've put in their consultation, they've called it a consultation for Oxfordshire. Henley is right on the border of Oxfordshire, Berkshire and Buckinghamshire. It supports Berkshire and Buckinghamshire. Moving it to Crowmarsh Gifford and expecting Berkshire to then pick up what Henley's going to do is completely against anything that makes sense. We're in the middle of consultation on moving to unitary councils while they also look at strategic areas. And if you look at their health service that runs Berkshire, Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, they work together. At no point does this ever suggest that anything has been consulted with Berkshire or with Buckinghamshire. I would imagine there are no conversations happening. So at the point when Henley closes, what happens to the rest of the country? What happens to the rest of the country here? We're being penalised for being in a very strategic position, while Oxfordshire County Council tries to rejig things before its strategic changes. And at the same time, trying to claim that £8.3 million is going to be spent in moving a fire station 8 miles away, 10 miles away. It is scandalous.
I agree.
Sorry, Chair, through you. Could I just ask whether Paul would like to contribute?
That's okay. Yeah. There's a couple of things just to back up on the community service aspect of this. One of the on-the-scene things that we do is the safe and well visits as a station. So we go out Sonny Common to Nettlebed to into our fire ground and visit vulnerable old citizens and check their fire alarms for them and make sure they're working, proper nocturnal alarms as well. And the fire service actually provides that for them. But we do go out, and it's great to go out as well because then we're seeing people come up, kids come out, and we do a bit of the show and tell as well. But safe and wells are important on many different levels as well, looking after the old parts of our community as well. Losing that means that they can, as you said, they're going to come from Oxfordshire, that's Wallingford and Watlington. They've got even bigger ground to cover to do their safe and well. So again, that's something they will lose immediately. Just to highlight as well, just to show the impact of the lack of engines at night. So again, this is a risk versus demand function, which is not really picked up in this report. Wednesday night, the crew was sent to Maidenhead to cover because Berkshire had a 10-engine fire in the winter area. So on the way to cover Maidenhead, which we do, We were then diverted to the other side of Reading, because Reading had a 10-engine fire as well. So we were sent out, and the truck didn't come back into the Henley until 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's what we do. We do move around and cover. But that moment, Henley was away, and somebody from north of Oxfordshire was coming down. But again, that's Reading and Caversham were taken out. Maidenhead, which is a frontline station as well, was taken out by these bigger fires. So by losing Henley, you're stretching both Berkshire and Oxfordshire, and more importantly, Oxfordshire and Royal Berkshire as well. So that's just a prime example of, the station was on, the station was called up, they did the job, and then we go away. But as I said, the numbers are flawed in this document. We've asked individually for the raw data. We're still waiting to do that. One of our colleagues has actually done a Freedom of Information Act to try and get hold of this, because we don't believe that the call out times, and we know that they've looked at the data and they've cut and pasted it in such a way that puts the job we do in Oxfordshire for Oxfordshire Fire and Rescue in a pretty bad light. We're quite disappointed that they've kind of thrown us under the proverbial bus. We have an on-call target where we have to be available. It's on the wall of the station. If you're invited to come to the station, by the way, we've offered, please come and visit us at some point. We have an open day on the 19th of December. Yeah. So bring your kids as well. So 19th of December, we have an open house for pre-Christmas Santa's Grotto. So please come and visit us there. And you might happen to see on the wall the on-call stats that the Oxfordshire Fire and Rescue Service provide to us. And they're very different from what's in the report.
It does sound scandalous. That's a good word.
Which I will now pass round.
Yeah,
to
Councillor
show you.
Hinton and then Eccles.
I think that this review is manipulation at best and corruption at worst, actually. I think it's highly suspicious that this comes around when we're looking at serious reorganisation of local government. This makes absolutely no sense to come about now. The fact that the data within it is incorrect, possibly hidden, fudged, worded, or displayed in a way to make you think a certain way is disgusting, actually. And I'm really glad that Paul and Stefan have touched on the other side of it, because our initial reaction is to the loss of a vital service in Henley. Now, if you can tell me that actually what's being proposed is better, then we have a duty to look at everything. Clearly, that's not the case. We know that, we're not stupid. So I'm not for anything trivialising this or dumbing it down or anything. We're all very aware of the vital service that the local firemen provide. But the other side of it, as has been mentioned, is the education, is visiting the elderly or anyone actually to make sure that they're safe. It's also the massive impact, influence and contribution they make to the community as well, because I mean, from the very first Living Advent in 2011, we had the fire service involved every year. They come to every Mayfair. They were involved in the regatta pre-wash-up things before, and the pre-meetings and the wash-up, sorry. We've used their vehicles to block roads. They come and they educate the kids. They make it fun. I remember when my daughter was young, she came home with some books about safety in the home. It wasn't just about fires. It's about alarms, about, even standing on a stool to change things and things like that not being safe. I mean, it's just, there's so much that they do. They are so integral to our peace and well-being in the community. And on top of that, we aren't just a town. Is that my phone? I didn't even know I had volume. But on top of being, I lost my train of thought a little bit there. What was I saying?
On top.
Education. No, completely lost it.
We're a town of 10,000. Are you going with?
Oh, that's it, yes. So on top of being, we're not just a town in South Oxfordshire, we aren't Wallingford, or more to the point, Wallingford definitely ain't us, because we are Henley, and we have hundreds of thousands of people that pass through this town. We have way more cars, it seems, than anyone else. That means a lot more accidents. We have lots of people that come in, really concentrated sets of time, and our engagement with the local fire service, like I say, whether it's for a pre-meeting, a wash-up meeting, whatever, whether it's just being involved in an event, is so crucial to the safety and the well-being of not just our residents, but anyone that walks through this town. And to think that one of our three vital services is at risk just there is just so insane to me. I can't process that this has come about, which is why I say it's manipulation and corruption, because that's truly how it feels. My other question is that when I lived up on West Street, and I was walking up and down past the fire station all the time, we had a part of the lovely garden in Buddy's Bed, which you were also involved in, because you've also been involved in Henley and Bloom and lots of other things. There used to always be an NHS, the ambulance car. So it's like a base for the first responders as well. So that's another important aspect, because that first responder, that saves lives. You know, it's not going attending a car, well, it might be, but it's not doing the same work as you guys are doing, but it's doing just as vital work and having a base there for that as well. So I just think there's so many reasons. I just can't believe it's in front of us. There's so many reasons for it not to be. We could all sit here and rant for hours, I'm sure, and find more and more reasons. But I think the first thing to do is to respond to a consultation and ask for it to, you know, I don't know, not be corrupt, to actually provide the right information and say that we're not just disgusted, but that we're actually offended by it, and sort it out, basically.
Well said. Councillor Eggleton.
I think Helen's covered.
Sorry, I've gone on a bit wrong.
I thought she's not going to cover that. Yes, she did. It's I think to the residents, the people that lived in Henley,
Sorry to interrupt, I know.
for the people that live in Henley, I think they, especially the elderly, and the response times, like we just said, with the 10 fire engines, 10 appliances on one thing, and having to cover, and then another one. It's totally ridiculous. And I mean, we've got more and more houses, more and more cars on the road now. We shouldn't be talking about downsizing fire stations. We should be increasing fire stations and putting them in between it, so we're all bridging the gaps. So we're not relying on someone else to cover. We're there to give aid to each and every one of us. But if you create a gap between that side, Berkshire and everything, are not going to have the support there. And the other thing is, do the other outside fire stations, do they actually know anything about this? Have they been written to and said, oh, you might have to cover and take an extra wider area? Do they know? Because we don't know that.
I'm sure they don't.
No, they probably
They
don't.
might after tonight,
No.
Anybody? Councillor Hunt.
Fundamentally, this proposal puts lives at risk, particularly in this area. And anything that puts lives at risk, this is not a saving worth making. Whereas I can't imagine that the county council is going to say, I'm terribly sorry that someone had an incident and we couldn't get them out of their car in time or out of their burning house, but I'm afraid budgets were just that important to us. Secondly, I think it shows a complete lack of respect to the firefighters who have volunteered in Henley, as they will not be eligible for the new one at Crowmarsh because they wouldn't be able to get there on call in time unless they move, which is entirely unreasonable, a waste of public resources training them up, and a waste of a valuable resource of people who want to serve their community.
Yeah. It's also worth pointing out that we are building hundreds of new homes in Henley, so the need is only growing. Councillor Buxley, Mr. Mayor.
The planned station at Crowmarsh Gifford, is this going to be a day station and a night station?
It will be the proposal is it's going to be a day station with the night cover being provided by volunteers from Wallingford.
Who will then have to get to Crowmarsh Gifford.
Within a certain time limit, and those volunteers aren't keeping their current station open.
Yeah.
So there has to be a massive recruitment drive to make sure that people are around to crew that at night. So the chances of, not speaking out of turn, but reading between the lines, the chances are that station won't be fully crewed at night, because the whole point of that was, if you look at some of the reporting in there, they talk about taking some of the whole times off and moving them around so they don't have to pay overtime. And that includes moving them down here as well.
And the second point in that, in terms of the location of where this site is going to be, I'm assuming it will be somewhere near where the planned SODC offices were going to be. And it's simply going to be, it just sounds like politicking. It's just, yeah, I'm with you. It does not sound correct. There has been no investigation, and the use of that council property to spend nearly £10 million to build something that isn't needed. Dodgy.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I'm sorry, Councillor Doss.
Mr Mayor, you sent a screenshot round to say that the consultation had been withdrawn.
I looked online earlier on.
Is that
and
because they are not comfortable with the information they've put out
They're not.
and therefore
Can't answer.
withdrawing it?
Can't answer, I just know that when I looked.
It
up,
sounds
So it's been
suspicious,
withdrawn?
doesn't it?
No, it just says, when you look on there, it says document not found. When you look in the link for the consultation, it says document not found.
Interesting.
They've already made 3 amendments to the documentation already,
Okay.
so it might just be that.
Well, it's tough to get caught out in lies, isn't it?
You can't put something up for consultation and then take it down and go, oh, we changed it, man, we changed it. So that's something the planner can't even do.
Well, I will follow that up as to whether it's been withdrawn or not, or whatever.
Okay.
Do you want to move into the motion?
Councillor Rice might speak first.
Thank you.
Like I think everyone around this table, and many in the town, I was alarmed and disappointed when I heard that the Headley Fire Station was under threat of closure. But when I read the document, the consultation document, I was even more disappointed at the very poor quality of the document. And as has subsequently been made clear, the fact that the data was not just wrong, but very wrong in places. That the lack of deployment time, which is the essential fact as far as we're concerned, was missing from the document. How can it credibly be a consultation document when the key figure of deployment time to fires at Henley is missing? It seemed extraordinary that the proposal should include spending 8 million upgrading Cromwell Skifford station, when the station here is able to take the modern fire engines, and therefore it seems more natural to take a much cheaper option than it is to spend what seems like a huge amount of money, which isn't necessary. And the lack of consultation with surrounding counties was also missing. There were a number of other areas where the document was unclear as well, and that just simply provided numbers without describing what those numbers were. And so reviewing the service is no bad thing. It's a sensible thing to do from time to time. But this flawed, inadequate document and its strange timing is a bad idea. And really the Oxfordshire County Council should go back and think again about how it's going to conduct its review, if it's going to do one, and make sure that any document that does come out isn't going to lead to a consultation that's invalid and challengeable, which this document would cause that consultation to be invalid and challengeable, and we'd be prepared to do that.
Thank you. Any other comments before I return to Councillor Gavrishak? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all your comments. And Paul, thank you for your... The important thing about Paul here is he's the real deal. He's actually living and talking the deployments, and that information about he went all the way to Maidenhead is really good. It just shows how vital the service is. I think it is on page 50. Here it is. I'll point it for everyone. On page 50 of this document, it says additional model scenarios: Ancient closure of the on-call station at Ancient, Henley closure of the on-call station at Henley, Woodstock closure of on-call at Woodstock, Tame removing the second fire engine, and that is the relevant page that shows that Henley is under threat. Councillor Reisman has said something absolutely pertinent in that how on earth can you have a consultation when the deployment times for all these areas to Woodstock, Ancient and Henley, if those fire stations are closing, this document should have the deployment times in it. It is going to take 15 minutes longer for a road traffic accident in Henley or a house fire. Therefore, what I'm asking for is for you to pass this motion. It's quite long, but I will read it out. The motion is for two things, is because if they go ahead on the basis of this consultation, which is flawed, then we have the possibility of a judicial review to actually review the decision-making process. So what we're doing is we're giving them fair warning now from Henley that in fact this is consultation document is seriously flawed and it does not include all the data. Plus, actually saying we don't want the Henley Fire Station closed. So, and I'm suggesting this is proposed by Glenn and Tom, secondly. The Henley Town Council strongly deplores the potential closure of the Henley Fire Station. If it closes, then lives will be put at risk because the deployment times to house fires and road traffic accidents will increase from 7 minutes to over 20. We also should not be relying on Caversham to cover Oxfordshire. Oxfordshire Fire Service should look after Oxfordshire residents. Currently, for a house fire in Henley, the deployment time is 10 minutes. After closure, Cromarsh it will be 31 minutes, and from Caversham, 22 minutes. We also deplore the misleading and inaccurate data in the consultation. E.g., the consultation states that Henley only attends 67 incidents when it was 110. It says the Henley availability is only 9%, whereas it is between 36 and 57%. No mention of deployment times to critical incidents, 20-minute deployment from Caversham and Cromarsh. No mention that the Henley area is the busiest area in South Oxfordshire. Any consultation based on the current document would be invalid and challengeable due to these serious errors, inconsistencies and omissions. Therefore, we call upon Rob McDougall, the Chief Fire Officer, and Councillor Jenny Hannaby to withdraw the misleading data in the consultation, include the correct data, and publish the deployment times for incidents in Henley before and after potential closure. We also ask that they physically attend a meeting in Henley Town Council to explain their decision. And that's the motion.
Okay, I'm happy to propose it.
I'll second that.
I'd just add that we, you know, along with the letter, we need to be certainly working with everyone that we can against it in general, not just with that, but that should be our official stance on it. And that, you know, we need to make sure that Freddie's on board as well, you know, and stuff like that. I know Paul spoke to Freddie on Remembrance, but, you know, it'd be good to see Freddie around the table as well, supporting Henley Town Council.
One crucial thing is what Glenn said earlier as well, and what I said as well. I mean, we're taking the structure of Henley with the amount of houses that's going up, and in the future, the more houses are going up. So you need to put that in because there's more and more houses, more and more cars. I mean, who knows in 10, 15 years' time, once that's gone, we're never going to get it back. It's harder to get something back. It's always better to fight for something that we've got now.
Yeah, the need is great. And I'm sure we would be able to count on support from Marlow and Reading as well, because they, of course, would lose out as well. Everyone living in Henley or anywhere near Henley would lose out if the Henley Fire Station were to close.
The Henley Society are on board. They're fighting it. Yes.
So just to think, I'm meeting again with Freddie on the 8th of December.
Yeah.
But obviously, the more pressure you can put on him between now and then, the better. At the moment, he's not on board.
Okay.
Interesting.
Great. He has a young family in Henley.
He has got a family in Henley, and he's had the Henley and Tame, and he's also, well, I won't say what he said, but I need to go through the data with him at a later date.
Okay. Right, I think we'll move to the vote now. All those in favour of the proposal? That's unanimous.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Chair, just say simple things. I agree with you on Freddie, or Councillor Runner. The critical sentence that he said is that if deployment times do not suffer,
Right.
Well, they do suffer. So
How can they
therefore-
not suffer?
So therefore Freddie should be on board. And yes, I am talking to Caversham as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Chair.
coming to the meeting. Very much. Thank you, Paul. Right, we'll move on to item 8, finance, which is to consider the management accounts and also the draft budget. So it looks like there are not really many changes to the budget. It's about £9,000 difference, which can be mostly explained by increased street cleaning, I think. If I remember correctly. That's fine, paper. There we go. Yes, it's mostly street cleaning, increased street cleaning, it's pushing up the budget. Anybody else have any comments? No, we have to
Right.
vote on this, we just know.
Next is the next.
Just know, okay. I assume everyone's happy to note, no further questions.
Yeah, unless you want to put an extra 50, we were thinking, into the green budget, was it? From zero. But I'm sure that's because of high sponsorship.
Yeah.
And a healthy budget.
Well, that's not the point.
We've got money, let's spend it.
Right, thank you very much. So we'll move on then finally to progress reports, item 9.
Don't worry, we're very nearly done.
Yeah.
Very nearly.
Progress is inching forwards. Councillor Eggleton?
The missing bollards, is this still the same one from the last one?
I believe so.
Is it?
You can see from the minute numbers, this is every time you've raised it, they put the date there.
Oh, right. So that's
There is an
fine.
additional one.
Quite a few
There's an
times.
additional one
There's
now.
one more. There's an additional one on the marketplace and the one got broken off, so they
Right.
basically are taking it away.
Well, it's bound to happen. It takes 3 years to fix them. So.
They should be back, they said they'll be back.
But only one to close the fire station, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
Apparently, they can do a sleeve, which is what they've done on the riverside.
Yeah.
So it's, if they go to that, the people that they were using before, you don't have to wait, because if you're waiting for Oxfordshire County Council to come out and put one in, you're waiting a long time. They probably
Perhaps those working on the consultation could divert their attention to bollards and it'll be done a little bit faster.
Clearly, they'd rather we all burn.
Yeah. They want us to burn without bollards, damn
Any other comments on progress?
it. They don't want people to drive into the bollards because we won't, they don't want to start a fire station or tell people afterwards.
I see none. So thank you very much, everybody. Meeting closed. Thank you.
Sorry, I can't